We should be live. Yes, we are live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And for those who are watching the replay, good day to you as well. My name is Vivian Acquah, and I call myself, I am a DEI coach slash consultant. Today I'm having a conversation, a monthly conversation that we have once in a while. I have with Mary Jane. And Mary Jane, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hi everyone. Mary Jane Roy, as you see in my name, and my company is Creating Waves. I really specialize in the topics of stress hardiness and resilience, emotional intelligence, emotional agility, especially. And I've worked together with Vivian on different projects now since 2017. So, really happy to be doing this series with her.
Yes, and today we are going to take a moment to reflect about certain topics that always are interesting, right? So for this one, we chose two topics. One of them is psychological safety, and the other one has to do with microaggression, targeted towards gender, and especially mainly predominantly towards women. So we are going to address both of them. Let's start with psychological safety because there is some, let's say, some mismatch about what it is and what's not and why it is needed. And for me to explain it better, and then I'll hand it over to Mary Jane, who has the definition of psychological safety. When you look at Maslow pyramid, and this pyramid is a pyramid that most of you know, I hope that most of you know, and if you don't know, please Google it. But Maslow created a pyramid which is highlighting what we need to evolve to the next stage, right? So physiological needs are, we need a house, we need a safe place to stay as well, we need food, we need clothing as well, and of course we need our rest. But then to move on to the next level, we also need to feel safe. And then this is the part where psychological safety taps into the workplace, but also at home, in whatever environment we're at. People want to feel the need to be safe, because for them to feel the need to be safe, they can move on to the belonging part, they can move on to inclusion, they can move on to so many other parts that are valuable for the workplace and workplace productivity. So handing it over to you, Mary Jane.
Yeah. What I did is I looked up the definition by Amy Edmondson,
Mhm.
and I think it's worthwhile to read it out. A belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes, and the team is safe for interpersonal risk taking.
Mhm.
And in another definition, it is all from her as well, or in another article, the sense that we can share our feelings, beliefs, and experiences openly at work without fear of retribution, loss of status, or punishment. So it really is
Especially
about,
that last part,
yeah,
fear of retribution,
yeah,
fear of losing your status, because some people, can maybe recognize themselves in the first definition. But
yeah,
for me, myself, the second definition is one that hits home in the situations I've dealt with in the workplace.
yeah, and it goes. I mean, this is maybe a perfect segue, Vivian, into what I started to tell you about a conversation I had recently
Hmm.
with one of my great nieces, and she's she started work at in 2021. She'll be 24 in the near future. Very beautiful young woman, smart, is on the go in the banking world, and I asked her. I said, "Are you experiencing?" Because I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, and this was a topic that, because it's come up so much in the last while, are you experiencing any sexual transgressions at work? And she said, yeah, at social events, you know, that does happen. And I said, God, I don't even have any advice for you, because it's such a tricky thing to talk about, or to raise the flag on,
Hmm.
as we know, with the retribution, the
Yeah.
fear of retribution. And she agreed. She said, she feels she has learned a way to deal with this, and put the person who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, the men that are doing this at these events, but put them in their place, without creating a fear that they will be defensive or come back at her for any in any way. And I think it's a horrible, it's deplorable. And it's not just from now. It's been there for decennia. But God, Vivian, yeah, this shakes
It
me up.
is, it is horrible, and it's weird for me to say this, but I'm glad that there is a atmosphere that things are happening in the Netherlands and also within Europe and other places that people are able to share this,
Yeah,
feel free to share it, or feel like they need to advocate and therefore they are sharing it. It's not where these incidents that are happening are, happening behind closed door. Even though they are happening behind closed door, it's not a risk for people anymore to share, because they share, the damage has already been done. So what more can they lose? Or they want justice, right, for these actions. And to bring it back home, in the Netherlands there is a lot of attention regarding the voice from last
yeah,
year, when
yeah.
it has to do with misbehavior in the workplace, misusing power in the workplace. And also there are young people involved in that, where the coaches misuse their power in a very bad situation. And
Mm-hmm.
now this year, let's
But
say
let's stay
that,
with last year, Vivian. Stay with
yeah,
last year.
yeah,
UVA, the fraternity,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
dinner.
I forgot about that. Yeah, unfortunately there are some fraternity houses where, or let's say, network places where people feel like they can express themselves and how they really feel about women, right? So I'm not going to say the word, but I will, lead to something, right? Because they were calling women
A very,
HOs.
yeah,
B
very
dot dot dot
derogatory
dot dot.
term. Yeah.
So you can fill in whatever word it is, but it's not positive when it comes to women. And
Yeah.
I'm laughing about this though now, which I'm looking at myself and I'm like, why are you laughing? Because this situation isn't funny at all, especially for those who are going through that, or for those who are dealing with derogative misbehavior from other people. And I feel very bad for those who have to go through this, and my apologies for laughing, because again, it's not a laughing thing. A lot, yeah. Last year, a lot has happened, and also this year. Let's say that a news outlet similar to BBC Sports, but in the Netherlands, so I will call it NOS Sports, where also a lot of former people that worked there shared different ism, microaggression, racism, sexism as well. And it's coming out now, where I am in a stage like, companies want productivity. They want to win. They want to, win and become part of the top three, or maybe become, first in mind when a client thinks about them. And then I go thinking like, but if you don't address psychological safety, if you don't address or raise awareness when it comes to, first of all, how to identify
Mm-hmm.
these situations, and also repeat the awareness regarding what to do when something has happened. I know that it's important to pay attention to prevention, but also pay attention to the fact that if something has happened, what can people do? Is there an independent organizations supporting them? And the reason why I'm putting an emphasis on it, because in the Netherlands now, I'm not presuming anything, but in the Netherlands now, there is a situation where one of the people that worked for, or is still working for, NOS Sports, his partner is also working for an independent trustee foundation, where if there are any problems, if you're dealing with any challenges with somebody from NOS Sport, you're supposed to call them or report to the trustee foundation. Is it a trustee foundation that is it?
No, no, I'm trying to think if vertrouwenspersoon soort iets,
Yeah.
yeah, in Dutch. A, 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 a trustworthy,
Yeah, a trustworthy foundation, or somewhere where you can go that
yeah.
it's reported legally that, something as misconduct has happened in the workplace. And his partner is working for that organization. She says that she's not part of, receiving information, but
A
she's
cover
still
up.
high up in the end, where the presumption, a lot of people have the presumption that if something happens to me while working for this employer, I am not going to report that to that organization because of the fact that this woman is working there. And you never know how she can get to the information. You don't know what you don't know. And now, yeah, without going into details, it's messy. It's
It's very
messy.
messy.
Yeah.
It's very messy, and yeah, the only word that comes into my mind too is this, the whole thing, in regards to all of the different incidents.
Hmm.
It's appalling. I mean, it's where is this behavior coming from? If we just focus on this kind of behavior,
Yeah.
this doesn't even touch on microaggressions in the
Yeah.
workplace, outside of the sexual transgressions,
Yeah.
which I don't feel are micro. I don't care at what level a
I
sexual
call them, even though it says micro, I call them macro because they have a macro
yeah,
impact.
yeah,
Even when people are saying that now people are reporting about an incident that happened 20 years ago, that
yeah,
means that you're leaving a huge scar that people cannot walk away from.
yeah. Yeah. And if this is going on in the workplaces, okay, these incidences have been really highly publicized.
Yeah.
They've been
Yeah.
getting the focus, getting the media attention. Thank goodness,
Yeah.
that bringing it out, exposing them. And but it's so all pervasive. And I think coming up, you've got an example of one that is, just recently happened
Yeah.
in The Hague. And then I think, you know, this is just a small, it was what, 4 words, 5 words,
It
but
was just a small sentence that he
it
made,
was a
but just
small
in the
sentence.
context and also in um, people of power sometimes forget how much power their words have
Yeah.
and how much people I'm trying to realize myself that I have to be deliberate, authentic, but also deliberate about the
Mhm.
way I'm saying things without hurting people, because I know that there are people out there that are really listening to whatever I have to say, right? And especially when you are higher in ranking, based on your title, people always will listen to you. So in this case, what Mary Jane was referring to was I recently published an article on LinkedIn, and it is addressed to the Prime Minister, not Prime, Dutch Minister of Public Housing and Spatial Planning. His name is Hugo de Jonge. And I'll share the context that he brought the sentences into light. And that is, he was on television, he was at a public demonstration, and he was talking
Kind
about,
of a debate, I think.
yeah,
Debate.
I
Yeah.
think it was a debate, yeah, where he and another woman were talking about the challenges that different people are facing when it comes to housing in the Netherlands, where right now it seems like the housing in the Netherlands is only for those the haves instead of the have-nots, right? So those who are who have money, who have funding, who have the financial means, can buy houses. And for this woman, she's a student. She
No, she
wanted,
was not a student any longer. I think she's finished her
oh,
studies.
she
Is what I
finished her
understand.
studies. Okay.
Yeah, and
Anyway, she's a
no
young
study
woman.
debt. Yeah.
Young woman. And she was asking, what are you going to do to fix the challenges when it comes to housing in the Netherlands? And mind you, this is a Dutch minister who's not new. And he made this comment right after International Women's Day. And also, mind you, he also has a daughter. So I'm going to say something out very loud. He asked that woman, not once, but twice, do you know a rich friend? I'm going to repeat it again. Do you know a rich friend?
And he
Here
was
we
referring
are.
in Dutch, he was referring,
Yeah,
Vivian, to a male friend, the
yeah,
Dutch
yeah, yeah,
vriendinnen.
yeah.
So,
So it's a boyfriend, right? Not
yeah,
even knowing if she's maybe into men. That's
yeah.
also an
Oh,
assumption
I
that
thought
was
about
there.
that too. Yeah.
And not even knowing that it's important for some people, I wouldn't say all, for some people to gain their independence. So what he was actually saying is you have to marry your way up to gain some independence, to gain housing. This
Yeah.
on public television also.
I do want to. I just wrote on the post that you made as well, just in the last half hour. But I do want to compliment the MC, the moderator of this
Yeah,
panel
yeah,
discussion
yeah,
debate, because she immediately jumped on
yeah,
him verbally and said, "This is not kosher. This
yeah,
cannot be
yeah,
happening today."
yeah.
And but
But she was
I
the
didn't
only
see.
one who said something,
Yeah,
though.
I didn't see any remorse on his face. It
No,
was just a smile and a smile to the audience and a kind of, glad.
no.
So I don't know what's going on.
I don't want to know what's going on, but
Yeah.
let's say that a few days later, because a lot of women were standing up and a few men, I want to salute the men who stood
Mm,
up. But for
absolutely.
me, it also felt quiet on the men side.
Mm,
I've been seeing posts and I'm looking at the likes, I'm looking at the comments, and some people were saying it's just a joke, but that's what
yeah,
microaggression is.
yeah.
Whether it's funny or
This is
not,
a
it
trap we
still
fall into.
hurts. It still hurts for the other party. And also somebody was activating some fragility in saying you cannot say anything anymore. And I'm not saying that. I mean, I understand that sometimes people make mistakes, but in this case, this person should be educated or should be aware of certain things that they should not do and should do.
Hmm.
Am I saying that this person has to be perfect? No. But such a demeaning comment to the bone, which you can unpeel layer. So the first layer is marrying up. The second layer is also assuming that this person
Is
needs to be
heterosexual.
somebody, needs to be with somebody to be somebody. The second layer is he surely doesn't know anything about International Women's Day, because I don't know, but apparently he forgot about it. He also forgot about the fact that he is married to a woman and his daughter is a woman. And would you? Apparently, this is the advice that he's giving his daughter. I would not. If I had a daughter, I would not. And and he
And the
also,
heterosexual, Vivian, the heterosexual aspect you brought up,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
was a huge assumption on his
yeah,
part,
yeah, yeah,
an
yeah,
attractive woman sitting there, young woman. So
yeah,
obviously she must be into having a boyfriend, and probably maybe is, but
yeah,
did he ask her?
yeah. True. I mean, the
Even if he
day
had, it
after
would have been
was
not appropriate either.
the day after was funny because there were some people posting on LinkedIn saying we are looking for a rich friend. I
Yeah,
don't know if they succeeded though, but it was
yeah,
brought with with sarcasm. And what I am thinking also, by doing this, sometimes you are in a very serious conversation and people bring in a comment or a joke and they are deflecting from the main hurt. Was
and
this of value from the
that was a pretty dramatic deflection on his
yeah,
part. He
yeah,
he didn't answer the question as to why,
no,
when she has no study debt, she has
yeah,
no she has a good income. Her parents
yeah,
would stand as guarantors,
mhm.
um, garant, yeah, as
Yeah, still
guaranteed.
would
Yep,
stand guarantee
yeah,
for
standing,
her.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and yeah, and so I mean, these things all on, and she said, and I can't afford, even the most basic accommodation. So it's like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, but that was a neat in his mind deflection from
Yeah,
the actual
no. No, and
concern.
his apology wasn't an apology that is worth something. He was saying that it was just a joke and he should have known better, but it was just a joke. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, this is not the way that you should have apologized. There are other ways, and also what actions will you be taking to prevent this from
yeah,
happening in the
yeah,
future? That will
mm,
be an apology for the leaders or for those who are connected with leaders. This is how you apologize.
yeah,
Not only by saying sorry, but taking also owning up, taking accountability, owning up. What have you done? And what can I learn from this occasion so that I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we bring it back to, I think one in the beginning with your introduction to all of this, if we take it back into the organizational, corporate organizational level, if these things are going on and you have to go home afterwards and stew over it, fact, or even while you're working, of course you can't separate. This is the idea about being your whole person in the workplace. You can't separate these kinds of hurts, these kinds of perhaps unintentional but very hurtful actions, words, deeds, etc.
And these things can activate the fight and the flight and the freeze mode, right?
Yep.
And Mary Jane, what stress comes with the fight, flight, and freeze mode?
Well, and let's add fawn, the people pleaser aspect as well. This that they in more recent times that they're adding into this. The 3 F's have become 4 F's. But let's face it, your prefrontal cortex shuts down to one degree or another, depending on how severely you're seeing this as a stressor.
That's very productive. Right?
Well, this is where you do your creative logical thinking. It's your executive functioning. This is what you want to have online, your people to have online, as long as they're working for you. So if that shuts down, and even if it's in an instant, there's some research out there that indicates that cognitively, we're not working at our prime, at our best, for up to 4 hours afterwards. And that would be, Vivian, if I've said something to you and I've come back and I've said, Vivian, I'm so sorry, please, this is, but you you perceived it as being a threat to you in some way. Your brain perceived it as being a threat.
And I can recognize that, because if there was something that caused me to activate the fight, flight, and freeze mode, so I'll bring it to me instead of making it more mystery. I was bullied during my pregnancy, and it did a whole lot to me. Looking back, I had my fight mode active, but I could not activate that because fighting at the workplace or having let's say being constructive, but also even addressing things. I was dealing with a narcissistic manager, so it's not the best thing that you should do. And the other thing, I froze. I froze, and it took me a long period, a while, to become, get out of that funk, but also to become more productive.
Yeah, it does. It does. It takes hours. And of course, if it's all pervasive, you may never really be functioning at your best in that situation. And then you need to make the choice, of course, do I stay or do I leave? I think employers really underestimate, and there's the term out there, quiet quitting, which is people are there on the chairs and not but not doing the work.
They are activating their amygdala the whole time instead of activating their prefrontal cortex.
And this is the thing, I think the employers really underestimate the amount of time. I was calling it presenteeism, all these years. I know that there's another type of presenteeism, and that's with people with chronic medical problems that do come to work but can't be working. They're just not. If you're in pain, you're obviously not going to be working to your full potential. That cannot be. But yet you're still doing your best to be there and to do what you can. But the other kind of presenteeism that I felt was this bums on seats and but no engagement. All right, a total disengagement. And I think there's just such a disconnect for employers to understand how many hours they're actually paying somebody, and if
just to sit around. And it can also lead to disengagement. Can be just as engagement can be. How do you say it? Can
contagious.
Be contagious. That's what the word that I was looking for. Contagious. Disengagement is also contagious because,
absolutely,
mind you, this person is not the funny, not the colleague that you want to be around with. And then the complaining comes in. Then other people are complaining. Then there is a whole department of complaining. Then
we've got a proclivity for negativity. I mean, let's face it. And so we're drawn to negativity. We may not like it.
We need to detox from it. That's a good thing. We need to detox from it.
Yeah. Well, talking about detoxing, but have you heard the term masculine toxicity in the last while?
frequently.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
recently, from
yeah,
Robert Baker,
yeah,
and anybody out there looking for somebody that is really, really involved in supporting women as and men as allies, getting men to
yeah,
understand. It's
yeah,
Robert Baker, but
yeah,
he told me about this term, and I had no idea, about Andrew Tate and all of this,
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah,
idolism that is happening with teenagers, young
yeah,
male teenagers, and it's astounding. It's
yeah,
astounding. And I was at lunch today with a friend of mine who's also a psychologist, and she was telling me even more about it. So
yeah.
it's fresh on my mind. And But yeah, it's just, this is why role models are so important. Why anybody in government, anybody
Mm-hmm.
in an official capacity,
Yeah,
anyone you have to understand the impact that words have.
yeah. And if you don't know, because we are not two women who are sitting here and saying a leader should know it all. I believe a leader should not know it all, but a leader should have people within this team that together
Yeah,
they know it all. And I see so many leaders making the mistake that they don't have a coach or don't have somebody in their corner that can be also showing the mirror,
near, yeah,
that
yeah.
they can be a mirror.
Hmm.
I'm not saying you have to know it all, and I know that you are making mistakes, but by not having a coach, it will be it will be hurtful for your career or
Yeah,
a mentor,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You know,
either
yeah,
would
yeah,
be.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't imagine being in a leadership role responsible for the care of others
yeah,
and not have someone as a sounding board,
yeah,
someone to hold that mirror up, as you say.
yeah,
And yeah, it's I think it's essential. It
yeah.
is absolutely essential. And there is some data out there. I sent it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Some research from Josh Bersin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't have it, right at my fingertips to say it, but those leaders that do have coaches, the
Yeah.
teams are so much more productive. So if that's maybe one takeaway that anyone listening to us in this discourse, that we're having here is, yeah, get yourself a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you've got an open mind to understanding that, yes, and let's face it, you can also say, well, I'm too old to change. No, you're not.
Never,
Never. You're
never,
not,
never.
right? This is
If
one of
that,
the prefaces
if
in all of my workshops and training is
yeah,
exactly the fact that we are never too old to
yeah,
learn.
yeah,
And this is a misconception that research in the last 20 years has totally debunked. We're creating new neural pathways, new neural connections till the day we die, as long as we've got a healthy brain. But being open to learn also helps us maintain a healthy brain. So,
yeah.
it's a win-win. So, yeah.
It is definitely a win-win. And all I can say is that it's a missed opportunity when people don't protect themselves, but also own up to their vulnerability and be there for one another, right? Because it might be maybe you had a role model that pretended to know it all. Maybe you had a role model that did not disclose that they had coaches or they
Mhm.
had a mentor system or peers that they can connect to. And I also know that being a leader, this is a role where you can feel lonely
Yeah,
if you are not connected with
yeah.
somebody else, and similar to my role, and I think your role as well, if you were doing everything all by yourself, believing what other people think about you, believing the feedback that people are getting, and not getting any um not getting any reflection, but also not having that community, then yes, you'll feel alone, and yes, you will feel like you are not you are not the best advocate for yourself. And I have a community, I have people to fall back on. I definitely have Mary Jane and so many other people that if something happens that is shocking, um I always have somebody to fall on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's actually research that shows this, I believe. something in the back of my mind is triggered by what you're sharing, Vivian, and that
Mm-hmm.
is that the higher up in leadership you go, the less feedback you actually get. So,
I understand that,
you know,
because what will happen when people are sharing their feedback, right? It's like off with their heads.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's what we think, but is that the reality? Possibly
Yeah.
not. But again, it's about building that psychological safety to step up and say, you've crossed a line here, and how can you do it and feed forward so that in the
Mm.
future, how will you do this differently? How could you do this differently?
Yeah.
So it's not about, and maybe this is something that we have to address here. Let's not, punish what's happened, but let's use this as examples, as yeah, situations to reflect on how we can better ensure that these kinds of situations don't happen again. And it is about the reflection. It is about talking about it. Yeah.
I just,
Anna.
in the meantime, I
Yeah.
was uploading the PDF of the Josh Bersin
Yeah.
research. I
Yeah.
think that you were referring to this page, right?
Could be. It got. It's. Oh, let me go full screen on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
So it's
Yeah.
about people
Yeah.
leaving their jobs when they're dealing with an uncaring boss, unsustainable expectation, but also no growth opportunities.
Yeah.
And this research was new, right? It's a research from last
Fairly.
year,
Yeah. Fairly recent. Yeah.
and this is something that you really need to look into as a leader.
Yeah. Lack of support for employee
Yeah.
health and well-being. I mean, there's. Yeah. Yeah. It's. But the cost is phenomenal, and it is so underestimated, I believe,
Hmm.
even discounted. It's
It's
just
definitely discounted, but also I want to go to the page where coaching matters.
okay. Yeah,
Coaching and mentoring. I every time that I talk to somebody or when I'm giving a workshop, it feels like I am a preacher for coaching and mentoring, coaching and mentoring, coaching and mentoring.
well, you've done
I
a lot.
wish,
You've done a lot in both fields, eh?
yeah,
So
I wish that when I started my career, and where you are, wherever you are, it's never too late to activate coaching and mentoring. Whether you are the mentee or whether you are the mentor, whether you are a coach or whether you are the coachee, both have valuable things to learn from each other. Marijan, you were saying.
um, no, no, no. I don't think not in terms of that. Just what I mentioned was that you've done so much of both. That I
Hmm.
think it's part of your DNA, Vivian,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
expectations. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And
definitely.
it's uh, I don't know where, you know, I would like to bring in, because it's made such an impact on me,
Hmm.
that I want to talk just maybe at this point as well on understanding, and with the work that you and Anita are doing, Anita
Mm,
and Asha are doing with
yeah.
VR. That's one thing. I can't stress enough for whoever is listening to this broadcast that VR, I really believe, is a tool that is going to be a game changer
Hmm.
for understanding viscerally, emotionally, mentally, understanding the effect of what words and behavior can have on another person. And because you're literally standing in the shoes of a person being on the receiving end of some kind of transgression. And understanding that intellectually is very different from understanding it in your heart, in your gut. And
True, and people think that they think they know until they walk a mile in somebody else's shoes
yeah,
and realize that, oh, I first of all, you are confronting yourself, right? And I know that some of you might say you're not your best coach, but would you accept it from me when I confront you, knowing that this is the first time that we talk or we speak, right? But yet, however, I'm allowing you to go through an experience where you talk to yourself. wow, there's so
Yeah.
much more that I need to do, right? And it's very important when it comes to this work, it's important to activate the intrinsic motivation. Because if people don't have their intrinsic motivation active when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Mhm.
any plan will fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're dealing with people who aren't ready,
You
who
have to
aren't
want it
committed.
for, yeah, you have to want it to change for
Yeah,
yourself, don't
yeah.
you?
At least the curiosity is also a kind of commitment.
Yeah.
But if you are in the deactivated stand, like it's not important to me, or we should stop it, it's not meaningful, then that is only not hurting you as an individual, but you're hurting your team, and also you're hurting the company from blessings, from revenues, from new clients, from new gateways that could be a very valuable avenue.
Yeah.
And I always talk about Rihanna. Rihanna is a singer, but is also become an entrepreneur just because he tapped into diversity, just because she was listening to all the different people and the people that she has in her friend cycle. Why? Because she didn't only have, black people in her circle, she had different people from different ethnicities, where you hear the different challenges. And if your company could create solutions for those challenges,
Hmm.
who is creating a win-win-win situation? Who doesn't love a win-win-win situation?
Yeah.
I do.
It's the only ones we should be, reaching for,
Yeah,
searching for,
yeah,
is those kinds of solutions.
yeah. I
And
have a comment. This some kudos to us.
thank
Thank
you,
you, thank you, thank you,
thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's uh, and please share your thoughts as well, in the chat and the comments.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
It's not only the Mary Jane and the Vivian inside show, but
So
we just wanna start up with what's there, what's missing, and why, from our perspective, from our lenses, that this doesn't have to be continued,
no.
right? We are both advocates for inclusion, whether we are starting from the ageism, whether we are starting from cultural diversity, or are connected with gender diversity, are connected to all the different DEI levels or DEI flavors that are out there. All my heart wants is, I want to create a more inclusive world
Yeah.
environment for my child. That's what I want. When do I want it? Well, preferably yesterday, but I also realize that there is a lot of work to be done. By starting now, I am planting seeds now
Yeah.
so that the next generation, and hopefully this generation, can reap fruits from it.
Yeah. Yeah. It, if we can get the tipping scale going on this
Mm,
one, the tipping
that's a
point.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can get the tipping point going on this one.
yeah.
And again, I'm going to go back to it. I think the VR, as you and Anita are doing it, is one way that we can quickly
Mm,
multiply the number of people who understand that this has to change.
yeah.
What we're doing now is not cast in stone, but if
Mm,
we don't have the courage and the curiosity to step into it, then nothing will change. And yeah, it really does need to be
yeah,
changed.
yeah. But you can only change something whether, and maybe this comes to a next conversation that we can have about, um, how can you fix something if you don't know the data?
Well, I mean, I know the data is important,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm certainly no data expert, but I do
Mm-hmm.
a lot of research into the
Yeah.
data, to support what I'm teaching and sharing in workshops and trainings.
Yeah.
Um, but it also is about your heart. It's about
Well, do some people? Sometimes I wonder, though. I'm not gonna make this a pun or a comment, but sometimes I am in situations where I wonder, where is your heart?
yeah. And again, I think it's also ignorance.
Yeah.
And ignorance, and not in the sense of lack of schooling, but it's a lack of, it's ignorant to what the problems are. It's, if it doesn't touch you, then why bother?
Exactly.
And this is not how we're going to build a sustainable future with each other.
No.
We don't have one right now. I don't feel, that we don't have a sustainable future. If things continue to carry on as they're carrying on, I hate to see what the next 5 and 10 years is going to bring us. We really need people to understand that their hearts, their souls, their emotions need to be engaged in this and other conversations.
Sure.
It amazes me that we can just kind of take a hands-off attitude to something that affects all of us and will affect our generations. I mean, I don't have children, but I have young people in my life that I really want to see thrive and flourish, and that their children will also thrive and flourish. It's
And sometimes, I'm gonna do maybe a Louis van Gaal, I don't know, but there is this Dutch saying about sometimes there has to be friction for something to shine, right? And we all are tiptoeing, most of us are tiptoeing around the conversations that can be challenging, around the isms that can be challenging, around dealing with around talking about a Me Too situation. But what if you create a safe environment where, in a small setting, you can have a conversation and create new norms that involve everybody, involve as much as people as you can, so that we can see things from my perspective, but also from Mary Jane's perspective, from other people's perspective. By only using one lens, whether you are a DEI consultant, whether you are a well-being consultant, whether you are a leader, by only using one lens, you are telling people that my way is the only way. And I challenge myself by connecting myself with other DEI folks that have a different perspective, or tapping into the different areas that I am not expertise in, right? Because I need to educate myself. I need to raise the awareness and also be able to advise my clients. If I cannot do it, at least I know somebody that can support you with this part.
If people could understand the role that their brains actually play in all of this, the neurophysiology of what happens, that the brain is really quite lazy. It likes to categorize things. It likes to create habits, that so it doesn't have to think all the way through, of I've got to put the key in the ignition, and I've got to turn the ignition to the right, and then everybody understands, I hope, what I mean by this. So the brain is lazy. It wants to conserve its energy for those fight, flight, freeze, fawn situations that come to play, and so it categorizes. It puts labels on things. I call us judging machines, And there's a
definitely
Dutch,
are.
Yeah, there's the Dutch expression, which I love, in terms of having open, fruitful conversations, and that's laat ome thuis, leave grandmother at home. I've not been able to find an acronym to do it, but it's leaving your judgments, your opinions, and your advice. And
I
just
also know another
listening.
one, and that is I'm not making an advertisement for Nivea, but there is one. I will say it in Dutch and explain it in English as well. Niet invullen voor een ander, which literally means don't make the assumptions on behalf of the other person, because you don't know the context.
You don't know
You can,
the context.
however, ask about the context so that you have a full view, a full picture.
Yeah.
And also, when somebody's asking questions, don't see it as an attack, unless they are delivering it in a very bad way, a hostile way, then see it as an attack. But if somebody's asking questions out of curiosity, let that person lead, let them talk, and also come back with, okay, now I understand you better. But sometimes it is needed to ask more questions to get the full picture.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's that questioning more deeply instead of providing your own opinion. And, most of us listen. I mean, we haven't been taught how to listen. So, yeah.
How to listen, but also how to ask questions in a way that are not already. So a question that I could ask to you, Mary Jane, is why are you saying that? Or I can ask you, why are you saying that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you mean by that?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we getting snappy on the show?
Ramia, thank you, darling.
Thank
I love that
you.
you're loving this conversation. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Still, we are making fun of it, but still, unfortunately, this happens in real life. So
yeah,
when you are
it
asking
happens
your
more
question,
than yeah.
be aware of the tone and be aware of the fact that what is the outcome that you want to know more. And Rabia has already said, or tell me more. Yes, that could be
Yeah,
tell me
yeah.
more like this, or do tell me more. What is it that you want to know?
Yeah, the tone of voice, the tone of
Yeah.
voice, our body language, it says so much to people.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the things that the brain does. It
Yeah.
categorizes really quickly. Oh, she's being threatening. Oh, it's, he's doing
I mean,
this.
the brain is there. It has, of course, it has a positive function, and the brain has to deal with a gazillion decisions, right? That you run through, where some of the things that I don't think about anymore, like driving, when I started, when I started in the beginning having my driver's license, I was thinking about doing this, doing that, doing this. Now I'm being drilled, and I'm going to tell her tomorrow. I have a personal trainer as of now, where she is telling me all these steps to do, and I'm not doing well with coordination. So I'm telling her, like, you're asking me to squat, then breathe, then hold my stomach, then do this, then do that. I'm just like, so many steps that I have to think about, and I also have to laugh and breathe. Come on.
It's kind of overwhelming.
That's how your brain is going through. Once I am getting into a familiar place, that's when I am able to not think about the steps, because I'm more aware of
It'll be
what I need to
automated.
do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Rabia is sharing the beautiful thing about our brain is
This is its elasticity. Yes.
We
Yeah, I
can
mentioned
change.
it earlier,
Yes, we
Rabia.
can.
Yes, we can. We can teach old dogs new tricks. and
I
young
wouldn't
ones as
see you
well.
as an old dog though, but look at you, the way you have embraced technology, the way you are setting yourself up for success, and the way that you say, okay, I know that this is what I'm good at. I'm willing to learn and see if I can handle it. And if
Yeah.
not, you also know that I am there when we are doing things together, that you have me to fall back on. And
Yeah.
we always, I don't know if we call it like that, but the conversations that I have with you and you with me, I see you, sometimes I'm the mentee, sometimes you are the mentee, where
Mhm.
it's always, learning from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Always learning
Yeah.
from each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's based on trust as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
come back
But
to the
I do have
psychological
to share
safety.
this. Trust isn't how do you say it? Isn't, having trust is one thing, but it's not the only thing to have trust, because trust doesn't always equal psychological safety. Yes,
No,
I can
no.
trust you.
I did
I
it.
can
My last,
still feel
one of my
unsafe.
last articles that I
Yeah.
posted on LinkedIn
Yeah.
dove into the difference between psychological safety and trust.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're very closely linked, and
Yeah.
certainly without trust, you won't have psychological safety.
Definitely.
There's really that as well. So yeah, I think we should leave it at this. What do you think?
I think as well, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
as always, we can talk hours and hours, but we
Yeah.
also have to think about our mental well-being and recharge our batteries. I always love to have these conversations with Mary Jane, and it's always fun, and we go into depth, right? So if there is a topic that you want us to address, or you have any
Please,
questions,
yeah.
please let us know, or tag us and let us know, so that we can have that conversation and dive deeper within it
Yeah.
as well.
And
So thank you.
if you're not already linked in with us, then please do. Join.
Yeah. You're missing out. You're missing out on good information and good news.
Yeah. We do a lot of posting on different
Yeah.
topics. But yeah, link in, connect with us and let us know that if this was the source that introduced you to us,
Yeah.
introduced us to you, then let us know. So we also have some context around that connection. Yeah.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's it.
Wonderful.
Until next month in April.
All right. Sounds good, darlings.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.